Okay, gotcha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with my dear friend Bennett DeBeer. Some of you have probably seen him on my channel already, doing a testimony about the Maui Mayor, Mayor Bisson, and he's been a amazing source of information for me. He is I maybe the first or second person I spoke to after I started making these videos, and he's been a great support ever since. And we got to meet when I went to Maui, and we've been meaning to do something like this for a long time. So this is Bennett DeBeer, and we're going to go over his experience, during the fire and the time after. So Bennett, thank you so much for doing this. We're finally getting this done, and I'm so excited to have you on my channel. And if you could walk us through the day of the 8th, what happened? What did you see? What did you experience? What was the weather like?
Yeah. So, hello everybody. Thank you, Tracy, for having me on. Yeah, uh, we got in contact with each other a few months. It was just after the fire, maybe a few weeks ago. I made it a point to try to reach out to Tracy, and she was kind enough to sort of vet me and trust me, and then we started talking and so forth. So, thanks, Tracy, for having me
Of
on. Welcome to
course.
my fabulous kitchen here in Kihei, Maui. It's kind of the best lighting that I have, just natural lighting. So hopefully it looks all right. Um, yeah, the day of it was a chaotic day on the island just in general. The wind was sweeping through the island. Of course, the Olinda slash Kula fires started very early in the morning in the dark, 3, 4 in the morning. So that was already happening. And at that same time, Lahaina was experiencing, say you could say probably close to hurricane force winds. I wasn't there personally, but we were talking to friends on the phone. It was a day where you're talking to your friends across the island because people are either calling you to see if you're near the Olinda fire, what do you see, how's the traffic, and you're reaching out to them like, oh, I heard Lahaina is really windy, and they're like, it's out of control. And so we kind of had an idea that the day was pretty chaotic just in general. We were driving, a friend and I were driving around Kahului running errands, and Kahului was a mess. I mean, traffic, there was trees on the ground, brush flying, and at the same time, you could see the smoke up on the mountain up in Olinda and Kula, because for the fire to jump from Olinda to Kula, that's a little bit of a jump if you know Maui's terrain. And so that had already happened, assumingly from the wind. So you could hear sirens. There were first responders zipping by in Kahului heading up the mountains. So the day, even at daybreak, the day had started, and it was a pretty chaotic day, just in general. And then of course, as the day carried on, we all kind of heard what happened. So yeah,
Can you
I don't know if that kind
describe
of.
the winds? Like, was it intense? Was it moderate? Was it
I would
rainy? Was
say
it cloudy?
no. It was a sunny day, maybe a couple clouds in the sky,
Hmm.
but generally sunny day. The wind, I would say, was moderate to intense from the beginning of the day because
Okay.
we're from Maui, so we're not surprised when it's gusting trade winds 40 miles an hour. That's
Hmm.
like, yeah, welcome to Maui. That's
Hmm.
yeah, it's trade winds. That day had a different feel. It was extra gusty and just had an extra little like, whoo, it's a windy one. It
Hmm.
had a little extra feel to it. And then as social media videos started popping online from people in Lahaina filming in Lahaina, like, I'm on Front Street. Wow, it's crazy. This is before any. Of course, there was the early morning fire in Lahaina. Then that got put out. So there were people, all walking on Front Street. Of course, the power was out, but you still had people, securing things or just out and about on Front Street, and they would put up their video, put it on social media, just that, oh, there's a trash can blowing by, or there's wow, look at this tree got blown over. And so you started seeing that, like, whoa, how's Lahaina? Lahaina, it's really whipping in
Mhm.
Lahaina. And that was before, you know, the fatal fire started.
Right.
So the day just, you know, the day did have just an extra feel of chaoticness, you know, to it because of Olinda, because of Kula. I was talking to a friend that lives in Kula that was like, we were on the phone and he's like, I can see smoke. We're getting ready to evacuate. I'm spraying, and we're just like, hey, take care of yourself, you know. And we're like, oh, wow, this is real. Like, people might lose their house today. Like, is the feeling you had, like people are in real danger today. This is even before the Lahaina
Being
thing
fired.
happened.
Yeah. Okay. And then also you told me about the day after one of your friends has a boatyard and had a
Hmm.
boat in the harbor. What did he see and experience when he went back the next day?
Yeah. So I have a friend. He has a business in Lahaina. Um, and he has his own little boat. So he needed to, or he really wanted to go see his base yard. So he took his boat from one side of the island, brought it to the small boat harbor in Lahaina, which was already kind of, you know, because of everything that had transpired overnight. There was already officials, there was official boats. It was already kind of a, you know, a disaster scene. So
Mhm.
he got there, parked his boat, stepped off his boat, proceeded to walk into Lahaina town. As he was talking to me on the phone afterwards, somehow we got in touch because I just know this is a man of action and he's a good friend. And you know, I'm not going to try to give away any specifics, but somehow we got in touch. I'm like, hey, this is a guy I should call. Like, he's always on top of it. And sure enough, he was like, yeah, I was there. I'm at home now. And I'm like, wow, so you were there. So what's up? And he was just like, Bennett, like, you know, so he parked his boat. He had to walk maybe a mile to his base yard. And, you know, those cliches came to mind, you know, looks like a bomb went off, looks like a war zone. Um, he was walking. He said, you know, there were a few people sort of wandering around, you know, a couple people on bicycles that may not have or may have had their own belongings, people that
Mhm.
were maybe trying to get to a friend's house or a relative's house to, I don't know, people just needed to go places, like, oh, my uncle's there. So there were some people on bicycles. You couldn't really get around on a car. Not a lot of cars driving around. He said he saw one officer in a car, um, that just sort of looked at him. He looked at the officer, and officer's like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going to my base yard." And officer's like, "All right," you know, drove off. Just, I think everyone was just in a state of shock, really, of what they were looking
So
at. I mean, you know, a whole town burnt down.
the officer
What's that?
didn't the officer didn't have a problem with people walking around the day after? They were fine with it?
You know, I'm trying to just remember what my friend was talking when he was talking, and it just sounds like everyone was just sort of like, you know, the officer was probably just like, "Hey, are you all right? You're all right? Okay, I'm gonna go see if there's anyone hurt, maybe." Or, you know, there were things that it wasn't so much like get out of. It wasn't like get out of here yet. Everyone was just like in a state of shock and like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like, people really didn't even know. Are you walking around this site as a victim? Have you been here all night, or did you just, like, no one really knew anything? You got to remember, this is like the morning after the fire.
Mhm.
So everything is just sort of wide open. There's no tape. There's no fencing. There's nothing. It's just an active burn zone.
Yeah.
You know, everything's smoldering, the smell. Oh, I remember my friend said the smell of chemicals was so bad. He said if any
Mm.
smoke got into your nose and your face, it was like he said it was crazy. You're just trying to like stay out of the columns of smoke and everything. He
And
did
you said it was
see,
like a chemical smell, or was it more
well, just
burning?
sort of just the smell of everything. I mean, you have to remember, there's everything.
Yeah.
There's everything from tires to chemicals to wood to trees to plastic to fiberglass to rubber to cement. I don't know. He just
Yeah.
said the smell was out of control and you really needed to stay out of the smoke. He said he saw dead folks. He saw
And the
everything. He
cars,
saw things
I think he said he saw the line of cars, right?
he saw that line of cars because he kind of had to walk from his boat to his base yard. That's the way he walked. He walked on Front Street because that was sort of the most open sort of like no wires. He didn't. You just had a straight shot to where he was going.
And there are still
Uh,
deceased people in there,
yeah, yeah.
right?
This is before anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is before anything. He, yeah. It was just super shocking, even just to listen to him, because this is a guy that like he's been in open rebellions in his home country. He's been shot at. He's been in gunfire. He lived in New York City when it was crazy. So he's seen a lot in his life. Like when he tells you something's heavy, it's
Yeah.
heavy. Yeah, he rides his jet ski in 30-foot surf just to have fun.
Mm.
So he sees a lot, and I trust his word. And it was pretty sombering because I heard I heard it from his mouth that next, because everyone was trying to like, what is Lahaina really gone? Like what were people really in the ocean? And like, so pretty heavy. And it was through this contact that I actually was able to get on a boat 3 days after the fire, a supply boat to help bring supplies. It was through this friend. He had another friend that was bringing supplies in on a boat, so we did that. Yeah, yeah,
So I know you were very instrumental in the response as far as getting goods to the hubs, and you were very involved with that, and you still go to them. So there's a lot of rumors about what exactly Red Cross and FEMA did in the weeks after the disaster. So can you clear up, and there's this idea that they were being blocked from the shore, or explain what was going on, because
yeah,
I'm hearing different stories, and I know you were able to kind of clear that up for me.
yeah. I just want to make it really clear. And yes, I mean, and again, this is from the information I gathered. I was gathering information from firsthand sources. My procedure or my protocol is I'm not really going to talk about something if a friend of a friend of a friend told me it, because I already feel like that's already getting filtered down.
Yeah.
So I was actually talking directly to people when I was on the boat. When we got to that side, I'm talking to people that I'm giving supplies to.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is like day 3. From my best information that I gathered, county, state, emergency officials were not even on the scene. And when I say the scene, I mean on the west side. I believe like 5 or 6 days, not until 5 to 6 days after the actual disaster.
Mm.
So imagine what happened in the first 24, 48, 72 hours after a disaster like this. I mean, people need like help.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I gathered, as I'm passing supplies to my friends and people I know, I'm like, who else is out here? Are you seeing anyone? Like, who? They're like, nobody, only you guys. And when I mean they say nobody, I'm like talking about someone with a badge or a patch on their sleeve, right?
Mm-hmm.
County of Maui, emergency, Red Cross. I don't know. We don't know who. Like in my mind, who's supposed to be there? I don't know. National Guard, military, cops. I don't know.
Yeah.
Firemen. You tell me who's supposed to be there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking someone with a badge on their shoulder that's like, hey, with a radio, like, hey, you're hurt. We're gonna get help. Stay right here. Hey, and call someone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining. And the only thing you saw was like normal people like me, like a normal other person in a boat. Hey, what's up? What do you guys need? We got propane. Hey, we got food. Hey, we got clothes. Oh, bring it here. Go to Estern's hub. Oh,
Mhm.
go to Hawaii hub. Dude, those guys need help right now, man. Okay, woo, and then it'd be like that's all you saw. You didn't see like,
Official.
Captain whatever. Yeah,
How long did it take for
And
the
again, I'm not,
officials?
and I want to make it very clear, I'm not blaming, it was chaotic, sure, you know, I'm not sitting here like, badgering the officials or whatever, but we all know from certain videos and everything else that it's like, man, who knows? I'm not here to say could have done, should have done, would have done.
Right.
It was chaotic, but I'll tell you what I saw and I'll tell you what I heard from firsthand accounts of people that were there, right? I'm not going to say like, oh, a friend of a friend told me, and I heard that because there was a lot of people saying some pretty wild stuff. And it was like,
Right.
whoa, like, anyone can say anything. I get it. But do I need to, you know,
About what
perpetuate?
point, about what point did you notice FEMA and Red Cross having a presence in the burn area, like really bringing in supplies and support? About how long do you think it took to see that?
So I was on a boat like 3 days after the fire. The first time I saw the burn zone was from the ocean. Went in, that was like 3 days after. Now, mind you, at that time, the roadblock was there in place in Malaya. So if you know anything about Maui, the main roadblock from the burn zone was in Malaya before the poly. Okay.
Mm,
So we're talking like 10 miles away from Lahaina town. So I was on a boat 3 days after. And then I was on my motorcycle the day they opened the roadblock, which I believe was 7 or 8 days after the fire. So
mm,
fire was August 8th, I believe. And so they opened the road like August 15th or 16th. That day they opened the road, I was there on my motorcycle because I had friends that I sort of needed to see just for my own self,
yeah.
my own sort of selfishness. I wasn't bringing supplies. I wasn't bringing anything. I
Mm,
needed to go see some certain friends that were out there. And so I went in there by myself on my motorcycle and there was other people and I was helping wherever I could help along the way. But
yeah.
that day I went to the private boat ramp, which is, if you're on Maui, you know where the private boat ramp was. That became a major thing.
The one that we went to that was kind of the smaller one,
Yeah,
local
it was kind of
operation.
like someone's backyard.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
working that
So
one.
when I went there, I was blown away at like it looked like it looked like a full blown working operation. Like people, the boats coming in. You wait, this boat first, come in. Everyone makes the fire line. They're stacking like this is in the very early, or this was so I was there like 8 days after the fire. So it was already sort of working,
Hmm.
and I just was like, whoa, like, and I saw my friends and talked story, and that's when I got the confirmation face to face with my friends that they're like, dude, no officials have been out here, bro.
So it
This
took
is
some
it. This
time.
this this is what you see. This is what's been happening. And I was just
Yeah.
like, man, this is crazy. And then I spent maybe 3 or 4 hours there that day. And then I had to go back to work, and I just couldn't believe it. I would go back to Kihei and go to work, and like, do you guys know what's happening over there? And I get it. Everyone's just sort of living their life. This is a week after,
Yeah.
and I couldn't believe that this was happening a half an hour away on Maui.
Hmm.
And then I go back to Kihei, and it's just normal. It,
Yeah,
it just it
what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I'm not in Hawaii right now, but it seems like a lot of the people that are right there, that live in Kihei, live in Lahaina, or live in the surrounding area, live in Wailuku, are are not really in tune with what really happened. Like, the information I'm providing, it's almost like they're kind of um, out of sight, out of mind. They're not right there. And so is that still kind of the case? People are just kind of trying not to think about it, not trying to really stand up for the injustices. Maybe it's just easier for them to not get involved. Is that kind of the feel you get, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of, you hit it on the head there. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it's
It's not
just
affecting
too
me. If I can
far.
still go to the store and the store is open and there's goods and I can use my phone works. Oh, I hit my light comes on.
Yeah.
What is going on in Lahaina? And I'm
What's
not
going
blaming
on?
anybody, but it's like some people emotionally. I'm still talking to people that are like, dude, I've only been to Lahaina once after this whole thing. I can't even look at that, man. It's crazy. And I'm like, wow, really? Like, whoa, that's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And again, everyone, on their own accord, I'm not, my opinion is just as worthless as anyone else's opinion or
Yeah.
worthwhile. It's just an opinion, right? And some people are emotionally touched. Some people just like have no need to go. You have to remember, if you live on Maui, the west side almost is like a whole different, you go across the poly and everything. So
Mhm.
some people, they live in Kahului, their life is in Kahului, their kids go to school in Kahului, their jobs in Kahului. They go to the west side maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
I'm talking just in normal life. So
Yeah. So I know
I was
you're,
just there yesterday, so.
yeah, I know you go to the hubs. What is going
Hmm.
on there? Are they still set up? I know the one that Ellie Cochran did, it got shut down. Is it still shut
Yeah.
down? They closed that one down for good?
Yes, that one's gone. And
Or is that, no, that was not the Napili, the one that's more on the upper on the
yeah, so
hill.
just yesterday I went surfing out there, and then so typically on my way home I had some gift cards for donations and stuff. So I stopped in the Peely and I talked to a nice girl. They're actually going to be closing the Peely hub. It's not controversial or anything, but they have funding. They're going to actually open up another distribution center closer into the Lahaina town area. So the Peely hub will be closing. I stopped at the S Turns hub. They are privately funded, so they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And then I stopped at Kanapali Beach. I don't know if you know about the fishing for housing
I do,
sort
yeah,
of
you told me.
protest demonstration. So I stopped
Yeah.
there. I know some of the guys there. I stopped and hung out there for an hour and talked story with some of the young guys there. And we talked a little bit about just, some of the local things. So apparently what's happening is, if you're aware, the fishing for housing protest demonstration camping on Kanapali Beach, right in front of Leilani's on Kanapali Beach, is setting to close down by March 1st because Governor Josh Green has said that he is going to make a statement on March 1st, like a definitive statement about either putting a moratorium on the west side, short-term rentals, or
Oh,
some
yeah.
kind of announcement that's going to make the need of the demonstration on Kanapali Beach, like they can call it quit. Like that's what I was told directly from the guys
Oh,
there. Like,
there. Yeah,
yeah,
I meant to ask you because I know you have property and Josh Green was I guess threatening short-term rental owners to
well, yeah.
make
I
them
mean,
long-term, but the last
it's
I heard it was not nearly enough. I think he needed 3,000, he was at 1,300. So
yeah. So let's
he said that
see.
something was going
So
to happen if he didn't get those 3,000.
yeah, he talked about dropping the nuclear hammer
That,
in
yeah,
mid-January. So what is it? What is it now? January 30th. So the hammer didn't drop.
right.
He's been in talks. I know the wheels of government turn very slowly, but and so no one's really heard anything. The only thing I heard was yesterday when I was physically there on the beach talking to the Lahaina strong leaders because they were hanging out there and we know each other by face and we got to reintroduce ourselves to each other. That's when they said like, no, I'm like, theoretically, how long does this go on? And they're like, well, March 1st. So the governor said March 1st, he's going to make an announcement. We don't know what the announcement is yet, how far or wide this far reaching moratorium is going to go. Is it just West Side? Is it statewide? Is it island wide? Is it all short term rentals? Is it just up? So we don't know yet.
Okay, so March
But the
1st.
but the governor is saying on March 1st he will make a statement that will give the Lahaina victims a clear path to longer interim housing. That's what I
That's a
was
little
told.
scary.
Yeah, it is. So again, stay tuned. if people like this little, thing, whatever, we can stay in touch and do more of this. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of what's happening. So theoretically, the protest at Kanapali Beach, which is big tents. I mean, it's a big thing, and there's big tents. There's shelves of food. They got cooking things. It's like they're selling merchandise. I mean, it's a whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's to bring awareness. The tourists, it actually is a cool place to do it because
Mm-hmm.
like tourists are right there and they're walking up and they're getting like, oh, we didn't even know what the real scene was, and so they're educating tourists and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So um yeah, that is set to wind down towards the end of February. So it's
Okay,
January 30th
so
today, right?
I was wondering about what that announcement, when that announced the nuclear hammer was going to come down. So
Yeah, March
we're
March
kind of
1st.
winding down with time, but is there anything else that you really wanted to share, let people know that maybe they don't know that you think is really important? Any message about what's going on now that needs to be addressed? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just appreciate you and your channel for keeping, reporting and keeping the story going. And it's going to be a long road to recovery. It's not going to be done next week, next month, or next year. There are going to be multiple issues. There's the Oluwalu dump site, which is in full swing. I saw it yesterday for the first
Mm,
time. I mean, they laid asphalt, made a whole new road for the trucks to go, and there's temporary stoplights put up. I mean, the traffic is a mess on the west side. I was
mm,
stuck in traffic yesterday going there and back. So that's happening, and that's depending on your opinion of that. That's another issue, the housing issue. There was already a rental housing
problem.
home owning crisis on Maui to begin with, and this
Yeah.
this catastrophe only highlighted that. Um, you know, there's another one like the missing children thing. I don't think there's any missing children even at this point. I mean, as I go and talk to locals out there and everything's moved on. I mean, obviously a mother or father would be like screaming from the hills if their children was missing and they're still missing and they're not found. I mean, I just don't see that. So I, I'm not saying I fully agree with the 100 fatality count.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I don't think that's a reality anymore. If there was, or if there is, or whatever about missing children, so people I think can calm down about that. It's not like, well, the children. I don't think there's any missing children at this point.
Hmm.
Um, I've been here on Maui since the fire. I lived here. I've lived here all my life. I think I would know, just like they were saying that the bodies washed up on Lanai. I don't think that occurred.
Hmm.
Again, that's just my opinion. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, thank you, Tracy. And
Of course.
if your listeners like, like I look at this like from a local's perspective. That's what this is, Tracy, right?
Yeah,
Like you're doing incredible.
that's what you're there for. You always give me the real
Yeah,
story, what's going on.
yeah. Like you're doing incredible things. I follow it. And I love your open mind to look at every aspect of this, which is awesome. So that's awesome. And then if your listeners and your folks, your subscribers, or anyone else, if they like this local perspective, great. We can do this once a month or something. I don't know. And
Yeah.
I
I would
appreciate
like
it.
you to come back and just give us updates because things are changing all the
Yeah,
time. And because I
yeah,
can't be there all the time, it's really good to have a reference like you and someone that's so involved and someone that knows everyone and knows how things work. Bennett's
yeah.
been involved with things like this previous to this
Test,
fire. So
yeah,
he's an
yeah.
amazing
Testifying.
source, and I would love to have you come back and continue to give us updates. So I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop recording and we'll stay on. So thank
Thanks.
you so
Yep,
much, Bennett, and
yep.
see you in the future.